We're live.
Okay, great. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for coming to our May 28th Parks and Environment Committee. Want to welcome Kevin back, who's officially a board member now and an official member of our committee. So happy to have him continuing his service with us. Bit of a short agenda today. We're going to have Rob from the Hunters Point Parks Conservancy talk about his work with Parcel D and E. And we'll have time for questions from anyone. And if there's any actions that the committee needs to take, we can talk about that here. And then Isabella is going to have some public comment she wants to make. And otherwise, we'll just talk about any old or new business that people have. So unless anyone has any questions about or things they want to bring up at the top, I think I can pass it over to Rob.
All right, well, thank you. I don't know, Carlos, have you had a chance to share any of the information I sent you to the rest of the board here?
I did not get to share the letters I have, but I have them pulled up, and we can always share screen if you want to have them, and I will definitely share with people afterwards.
Okay, well, maybe after if there's any questions. So again, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a resident of Long Island City since 2009. I've been president of the board for the Hunters Point Parks Conservancy since 2014. And we work closely with New York City Parks. We also work closely with New York State Parks because we're also part of Gantry Plaza State Park. And we do a lot in the parks, and we can talk about a little bit of that if you have any questions about all our activities and things going on there. But the point of this conversation, I think, is considering parcels D and E, which are the two remaining city plots down in Hunters Point South. And it's been a project for numerous years, which actually CB2, there's a letter from 2023, I think, was where, they were advocating, CB2 was advocating for more green space. And right now, there's Parcel E, which the RFP went out over a year ago. And I happened to see, if anyone knows Kevin Paris from HPD, 2 weeks ago, and he expected something to be announced over the summer on who's going to develop that. And that's going to be a lot more towers. And that remains one parcel left, which is Parcel D. We've been advocating for 2, 3 years now that remaining parcel should be green space. It should be really an active sports field for the community to use. There's many reasons for that. There's a editorial that we had published that Carlos can share with you later. But basically, while we recognize the need for more housing, we think Long Island City has done more than its share to address that. Whether it's the fact that Long Island City Partnership released a report that from 2014 to 2024, our population grew 70%. Whether it's the fact that Court Square has no green space at all. And even with the One LIC project, which we're closely involved with, our percent of green space and parks will actually go down, even though the One LIC has a lot of green space in there. So we've been actively pushing for this. Basically, and initially, we wanted, along with CB2, that when Parcel E was done for the RFP, we wanted HPD to do both parcels at the same time. So whatever developer would get one parcel would then have to be required to provide significant green space into the other parcel. HPD did not want to do that. Basically, they said they don't have the money to subsidize housing in both parcels at the same time. So right now we have a parcel that's been empty since the first building opened in 2013 and could be empty for another 5 to 10 years, basically just full of rats and lanternflies and things. So we don't think that's the best use of our space. We really need more active sports fields. We've got a very young community, a lot of young children. Also, there is a new school going up right across the street from the lot. There's a school that opened 2 years ago, PS 384, that's on the other side. And these schools could certainly use it during the day for active sports and healthy running around. And there's numerous other reasons about why. But so anyway, so we've been doing this. I've spoken with HPD over the last few years. They know where I stand. They know where we stand as a community. We have a petition that we started a year ago. We have over 1,300 signatures asking for active green space to be put in this location. And basically, they're saying it's done for housing. There's a shortage. Once they announce who gets the RFP for Parcel E, we will again do another push. We've met certainly with Julie Wan and other electeds. Julie said that she pushed for, particularly in one LIC, to have it turned over to the community, even though that lot is not part of the one LIC area. And she said the HPD turned them down. So we're not going to give up, and any support we can get from the community board will be great. And I can answer some questions about this.
Thanks, Rob. I think, I'm more than happy to have us draft up like a new resolution in support. And we can try to get that passed at the full board next. I'd love to have the full board on it. And I think you came to the full board meeting last month, didn't
Yes.
you? So people should be aware of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Um,
mean, this goes back, if you're also with land use, with like Lisa Deller, and her crew, they were very supportive of it, as you can see from the letter, from a few years ago that I shared with you. Certainly CB2 was all on board with getting more green space to the community. So, but yeah.
yeah, definitely. So I guess my questions are kind of around. So you said there's an RFP. So is there an RFP out and we're waiting for the city to select someone? Is
For
that the
Parcel E, yes, but not Parcel
okay?
D. Nothing's going
Okay.
on with Parcel D because they said the city does not have the funds to support affordable housing there. So it'll sit and again remain empty for who knows how long. And again, this project, it goes back to the Bloomberg administration, and it took them a long time to get where they are. And so, if we have this huge housing shortage, I would have thought they could have done developing a little bit sooner for the remaining lots, but this is where we are now.
Okay. And is the city saying, or the last thing you heard from the city is that there's no funding to do anything, or that there's just no funding to do housing there?
Well, basically, it was no funding to do the housing because it's slated to be affordable. Everything in the Hunters Point South development is anywhere from 80 to 100% affordable.
Hmm.
Of course, there's different levels, and you can make the argument of what's affordable, but they basically said they don't have the money to make and it's slated for housing. And when I met with HPD a couple of weeks ago, we did a walk through Hunters Point South Park that Department of City Planning and HPD kind of coordinated with me. And, I spoke to them and they said, keep pushing, go ahead. But, their HPD builds houses and that's what they want to do, even though it doesn't seem the funding is there at the moment.
Okay. So like theoretically, if we could get the funding to turn it into a park and I guess the acceptance, HBD would kind of be turning it like they would be turning over the opportunity to make it into housing in the future.
Yes, I mean, that is the plan.
Okay.
Now, I've also worked with one of the developers who I believe met with land use at CB2 within the year. TF Cornerstone, which owns tons of the property around here. They just opened up the whole Malt Drive area. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that whole complex, but they also own land behind it and to the side of it. And they were willing to pay to build a sports field. And they actually have a plan for it, and they could then replace the affordable housing that was needed there if they got it rezoned. Now, I'm not an expert in that area, and I know to get things rezoned, it's timely, and there's a lot of issues there, but they do have a plan where they would pay for the field if they had their area rezoned, and they could put in the affordable housing there that was required. But then, of course, I'm sure there's financing through the city and subsidies and other things, which I am not an expert in. So,
Gotcha. Okay.
but they may have met with
Um,
land use at CB2 again within the year to
mhm.
discuss the plan.
Okay. And so say if we're gonna write a resolution in support, which I think is more what I'm thinking we do. I don't know if we're either that or a letter. I I imagine we want to send it to elected officials, but are there specific agencies that we should direct it to? Like, should we send it to HPD and
Yeah.
parks? Like, what is your recommendation, I guess, in terms of
Well,
like the best way to
yeah,
advocate?
HPD definitely parks. We have met. I had a call back in November with the old New York City Parks Commissioner and her staff, and we discussed the space and what they would like to see in there if it was turned over to parks. And quite honestly, it was to get back to me with their plan. And then with the changeover, the commissioners and so forth,
Mm,
I didn't get, but I did have conversations with them. So certainly for parks, for HPD and elected officials, Julie Wine and, Claire Valdez and Kristen Gonzalez, all of them, it certainly can't hurt.
okay, great. I think that's most of my questions, but if I have any more, I'll wait till the end. Anyone else have questions for Rob?
Um, I, I'll raise my hand. Um, I just was a little curious about the letter that came from CB2, I think you said in 2023 or 2022. Was that supporting park space in lieu of housing on that site?
I have to look at the language. I guess
Yeah,
Carlos could share with the letter, but it was also pushing them to do both lots at the same time. That
right.
would recognize the need for green space and so forth. So I could pull it up. And are you looking at it, Carlos, by any chance? And I forgot
Yeah, I'm
specifically.
gonna see if I can add it to the chat as like a file, but I have it up right now.
I
But if not,
also,
I'll just share my screen.
Carlos, that was the one you requested that I share with the committee, right?
Yeah, why don't you? I sent you both the documents. If you can just
Yeah.
share both of them. One of
Yeah,
them is the
that's
letter,
done.
the
I
other
just
one is
shared it.
okay.
Awesome.
I'll put it in the chat too. I think I can do
Yeah.
that.
But as I said, going back in more, this was more land use than parks back then. And when with Lisa Deller, I had numerous conversations with, and I forget the woman that took over for Lisa, who was head chair of land use or so. And so they were all certainly in favor of and recognized the need for more parkland and green space certainly in Long Island City.
Well, I'm asking because I'm curious because I do think it all comes, everyone wants more park space, right? And the need is
Yeah.
there. But I think the other, the flip side of this is the board going to take a position on having less affordable housing there or less housing there in general?
Yeah,
So
I
I just think
mean,
where the board
obviously
is,
there's an argument there. I mean,
yeah,
as I know, Kevin, you look out your window and you can see what goes on down here.
yeah, yeah,
And I think we've done more than our share. And when you look at Court Square, when you look at Hunters Point South, and certainly recognize the need for more housing, but HPD also talks about a balance in the neighborhood they create. And just putting up more and more towers doesn't necessarily provide the balance and they said, the HPD said they, want to listen to what the community wants. And
mhm,
we had meetings at Sunnyside Community Center for when Parcel E was being envisioned. And the community space in Parcel E, the outdoor space was what they said half of a tennis court was what they were asking for the community. I said, well, what are you gonna do? Put a pickleball court there? Just, what, take your half a tennis court and give us something in Parcel D. Because that was in the visioning meetings that was in Sunnyside Community Center last year or two for Parcel E. So,
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and I hope that, I mean, obviously it should be a discussion, but I think, something we were talking about a lot when we were, working on the Long Island City rezoning was like, how do we get affordable housing and green space? And considering that, this is, an opportunity for green space when we were kind of lacking in it a little bit, on the Long Island City rezoning, I think hopefully that can be a helpful argument towards that case. Because I mean, I want both, obviously, but
yeah,
if they're not going to build housing here, it could be great as a park. Um,
yeah. And, we're very supportive of One LIC. Our executive director is chair of parks for One LIC, and we recognize the shortage, but we also know, as I said earlier, with One LIC, our percentage of green space is actually going down, which puts us third or second to last on all the community boards in terms of green space in their area. So it's not something as a parks advocate that we're happy about.
Anyone else have questions? And Isabella, if you have questions too, since you're a board member, happy to have you go.
All right.
Not to
And
put
I'm
you on the
also
spot.
happy to answer any questions. We do a lot in both parks. We're actually having our big 5K run a week from Saturday. We're started all our outdoor fitness. We do Zumba, yoga. We had 85 people yesterday for Zumba. We can get 150 people out there for yoga. We've got our art classes, movies. Every Thursday at 10 a.m., we have volunteers that weed and clean in Hunters Point Park. Every Saturday at 10 a.m., we have volunteers in Gantry Plaza State Park. We have a lot going on at hunterspointparks.org. You can go to our website and you see everything. But if anyone has any other questions about all our activities in the park, happy to answer those questions too.
And
Or
Rob,
not.
I think we talked about this last time, but just in terms of timeline, is there a certain time where it'd be helpful to send something by? Or are we kind of just in like a holding pattern?
Well,
I just ask because I want to like make sure that we get something out expeditiously, but also knowing that we only have one more committee meeting before the summer break.
Well, yeah, I think, and I'm not sure when they announce the developer for Parcel E, that'll give us another push to say, hey, okay, here's our petition 1300. You're getting all these towers here. This space is remaining empty. What can we do now? So that's kind of what I'm keying in next time to really do a push for that.
Okay, so kind of like it makes sense to wait to see what happens with parcel E and then we push on parcel D, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Which again, I'm not sure. And, you know, I look out at the empty spot all the time there. And I know the other thing HPD said was, oh, they needed parcel D to act as a staging area for the construction of the school and then for parcel D. But then it's like, okay, well, then if you're going to build towers in parcel E after everything else is built, you're not going to have a staging area anyway. So I'm not sure how that argument made sense to me. And, you know, we don't want to use this empty space as just a staging area for more buildings. So,
Yeah. Gotcha.
We've
Okay.
also learned that the planning process takes so long anyway. So, I mean, they could use it for staging for E with a long range plan to turn into a park.
yeah, that's what I said. Right now, if you look at there's a lot of stuff in there for the school, which is fine. You need it there for another year or two. Okay, if I know getting a park, we're happy to wait. So,
Okay, great. There's
all
no more
right.
questions for Rob. We'll work on drafting something. I'll probably run some stuff by you, just so we have all the context. And then we'll try to get it passed by the committee and maybe by the full board too.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Good to have more names on it.
Yeah, definitely appreciate your help. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, particularly if I can get it funded, but you know, I'm only one person, so who knows? So, all right. Well, thanks again for your time. And
Yep. Thanks for
I'll be
coming.
leaving. See you around. Come on down to the park. We'll have lots of stuff going on.
Oh, it's summer now,
It is
everybody should be
summer.
coming out now.
Yep. All
Gorgeous
right.
out.
Cool.
Thanks,
All right.
Rob.
Thanks again.
Appreciate you.
See you. Bye.
Okay. Isabella, now over to you. As long as you don't take like 15 minutes, I don't think we need a timer for you. Considering it's public comment, but go ahead. and we can.
Definitely don't even need close to that. It's a public comment, but also excited, if that's the appropriate word, to open it up for discussion. So I'm Isabella. I have been a resident of Court Square since 2008. I also lead a local nonprofit over here called Teen Art Salon, which is in the Aris Loft building. So it's adjacent to the Court Square Park, which is what I wanted to talk about tonight. As most of you probably know, about a month ago, this park reopened to a lot of community joy and enthusiasm, as it was taken from us for a bit, and especially having the reveal with the spring timing was really wonderful. And I think everyone is so enthused to be able to lay on the grass and picnic However, there was a lot of confusion around the signage when it comes to dogs. So initially, there were very, very small signs that are like about this big that said, you know, be respectful, don't put your dog on the center lawn. So where that old fountain used to be, there's now a fully manicured center lawn. And then Parks eventually, in about like 5 weeks, was able to get some more significant signage, which I don't know if I should share the photos and if it's helpful for folks, but I could potentially do that. If you want, Raphael, and you want to give me that permission.
You could put
Yeah,
them
of
in the
course.
chat
Don't,
too,
don't worry.
maybe.
Yeah, of
Oh,
course.
I guess.
Yeah, however you want to do it. If you want to share a screen or
Okay.
put them in the chat.
Cool. Let me see if that will work. It says I need to send you a request, Raphael, so I just did.
Okay, accepted.
Excellent. So now they have this around there, which is great that it's a passive lawn, no pets or active sports. But on the left side and the right side of the park, which I can show like an aerial view of that, I'll put a new photo. They began to see that people taking their dogs to go to the bathroom was becoming an issue because there are small plants that they've nicely created arrangements of, and there's a lot of brown patches that were starting to form, and particularly at night, if you're standing on the steps of the courthouse and you're facing the left side, there's a lot of people taking their dogs off the leash to use the restroom there. They put up their official signs a couple days ago, and it says that you can bring your dog to the park. So at first I was like, is this going to be a no dog park or is this a dog park? Or dogs allowed here? Because they didn't have the big NYC park sign. They now do. But what we're seeing, and I can show like just a little video, is that at night, because I work late, people will come and they take their dog to just go all over here. But during the day, people are using it as a place to picnic and to relax and to let their kids run around and play. So my main comment is, how shall we move forward in our negotiation of this green space? It's really been a hot topic for my neighbors in Court Square, and I've wanted to just mention, as someone who works with high schoolers and knows there's the daycare over there, I love that it is primarily being used for a passive space to relax, to retreat, to sunbathe, read books, eat lunch. But people who are dog owners feel very, very strongly about coming through the barbed fencing that is protecting the plants and going in between the benches and still taking their dog in to relieve themselves. So it's frustrating to see all of those brown spots on a completely new park. And I wondered if anyone from NYC Parks has made comment, or in the past, if you as a community board have discussed the priorities for use in this park and could share a little bit more light on that. And thanks for listening.
Yeah, and thanks for your comments. So in terms of like the history of the park, I was not on the board when like they were initially discussing plans for redoing the area. I don't know if anyone else, if Lauren, if you remember what that was, but I don't remember we wouldn't know any of. Okay, she's nodding her head. So I don't think we have the history from anyone here in terms of like what those discussions were like when they were coming up with plans for the park in terms of like, you know, what the uses would be. So I guess my question for you, Isabella, is like, what do you want to see? Because I think I'm happy to, or Raphael and I are happy to kind of advocate to the Parks Department for a certain solution, or that they explore certain solutions, and at least we can kind of hear back from them on like what they think in that sense. But we should probably make some kind of ask specifically, as opposed to just like raising this as an issue, because then I think they'll just kind of be like, oh yeah, sorry, we put those signs up and that's what we did.
Okay, that's helpful to know. I do think that it should be fully a passive park, and that I don't know if there is precedent in other New York City parks to say, like, if you want to sit on the bench with your dog, I don't necessarily see an issue with that, but I think having that lawn space that will not be like interrupted by pets using it as a restroom would be an ideal scenario, just because that's how people are already naturally activating the space as a place for a break during work, to catch up with folks, to be there, um, with like just enjoying the whole green of the grass, because that's to me intuitively like how it was designed. And I understand that there is a dog run coming to the new Dutch Kills Park. So I think having people wait and using that park for its appropriate reasons and leaving this one to be a passive park, and where those lawns are having signs that are not for dogs would be a request that I feel my neighbors would value based on conversations.
And do you think that there needs to be more signage? Is that what it is?
Well, the confusing thing was, and maybe I think Kevin, you're in Court Square as well, right? I don't know if you've been following this, but essentially the green, the little, and I could show, let me show you an aerial review. I'm taking this one
Yeah.
from Reddit.
Isabella, I'm actually over by Hunters Point South, so I'm not.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So
Yeah.
this part over here that now has all like the chain around it, it's finally after 5 or 6 weeks, like very clear that that's the passive area. It's these sections that don't have any signage at all. And it's really, really confusing, like why this one, I guess like it's shaped in a way that maybe was a little bit more intuitive for people not to bring the dog there, but I would say that they should have signs for this whole section, and that section.
Okay. Yeah, that's clear. And then I wonder, so I actually don't know who enforces this, but I know that I'm pretty sure that people can give out tickets for folks like not picking up after their pets. I don't know if that's parks or PD. I
It
would hope
is
it's parks.
parks because
Okay.
they told me some of the guys who were putting in this. If you go yourself to the park, you will see there's like this thin wire fencing that they started to put around the plants and the gaps that the benches weren't blocking, so people wouldn't just walk in over them. They're still finding ways because not every single part of it has been wrapped with this protective fencing. But when I saw them installing it, I said, do you guys have a recommendation? Like, just want to continue to value your hard work. And they said we could put in a request for like a PEP. So that's a Parks Enforcement Patrol to come and give out tickets. So I hadn't submitted a request just yet because I felt it was important to do my due diligence and just check out what the committee recommended. But that,
Yeah.
was mentioned by an employee.
Okay, yeah. I as long as it's parks, I think it makes sense to have them maybe do like a little bit of like a, go out for a couple days, like put the signs up, go out for a couple days at the same, like right after that, and just like remind people. And that could help. That could help maybe enforce some good habits. And I think we should ask for that. As long as it's,
Cool.
I mean, sometimes it gets messy when it's like the cops, but as long as it's the parks people, they'll just be giving out tickets. So I don't mind about as much about that. Okay, so I mean, my thinking is, Raphael, maybe Isabella and I can work on like drafting something, and you can send it to the parks folks just as like a request, and we can like make it clear on like what we're actually asking for, and then you can send it to them.
Definitely. I agree with that.
Okay, cool.
Cool. And I can take some updated photos as well.
Yeah, photos would be good, and maybe so. I guess I think the things that would be helpful if you can send me are like the time of day when people are walking their dogs through here, because I think that's when we can like specify when they should be doing enforcement. And then like maybe just a sense of like what you think, like what signs have been put up or what like deterrents have been put up that you think are helpful in the areas where they are. So we can be clear about like should we want more of these, or we need new signs like in these locations, just so we're clear about like what's actually working. Like I think we should still be thankful the things that they've already done, but just say like, you know, we're looking for more and what specifically we're looking for.
Okay, that sounds great. And like I said, I've been in this area for 19 years. So prior to the new version, that place was like completely used as like take your dog to the bathroom central. Like it was it was dirt brown. I see like Alexa nodding, like you know like how that park used to be. So I felt like okay, they went with this choice to make it like completely grass, but like in a totally different way. And so my assumption with the design was that it was intended for human use, primarily just with how things were like laid out, but it's not 100% clear. So I think helping like the public to have the clarity will only be positive.
Cool. All right, we'll work on that, and we'll hope to send something to Parks soon. Hopefully we hear back from them. Okay. Any other questions or comments people on the committee had about this? Just before we wrap up.
I'm sorry, while you're talking, I was also going to like looking through old emails to see if I could find anything about like the design or anything else like that. And I don't really see anything so much about, a lot of it's about budgeting, timeline for construction and completion, stuff about art installations and things like that. But I can continue looking, but I didn't see anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I don't think we need to belabor it too much. I think, you know, the problem here is that there's just obviously a lot of need for a dog park, and there just isn't one here, but that doesn't mean people should be using it for the use it's not intended for. So, you know. Okay, great. Well, thanks, Isabella. And we'll follow up. I'm gonna move on. So rest of the agenda is just old business and new business. The only old business I want to bring up proactively is that I think I'm going to start working on scheduling a parks walkthrough sometime in July is what I'd like to do. So Raphael, I think I'll email Parks and copy you, and we can work on something. I think I just want to ask them for what they'd be willing to do first, and then we should just coordinate with people's schedules, because I know folks might be away for the summer, and I want to get as much attendance of the committee as possible if we can schedule something.
Sounds good. I'll join you on that walk.
Yeah, it should be nice. We'll have to pick a location too, because I don't know if I want to do like all three. I mean, it'd be great to do all three neighborhoods, but like if we don't have like a car to drive between, it might be a little weird. So maybe we'll pick one neighborhood, and then we can, if it goes well and Parks is like, you know, if we're nice to them, they'll want to come back and let us do it the next year in like another neighborhood. So
And Carlos, is the plan to avoid 90-degree days?
Oh, I mean, I would love to not do it on a really hot day. I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but I guess we'll have to be adaptable. It's been lovely so far. So like, I feel like you're right, but I'm not thinking about that right now. I'm just like, oh, it's going to be this all summer. But anyways, so Raphael, you and I will work on that, but I'll take the initiative to reach out to Parks first. But I think that's it. Anyone else have other things they want to discuss? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to raise Murray Park again and that whole dog run situation there. You know, I don't live over there, but I happened to be walking through there the other night, and the east end of that park, where it's all cordoned off because of the contamination, the grass is maybe 3 feet high at this point. You know, it feels really unsafe. The number of rats that are living in there, you can imagine. So again, I don't know whether they've moved forward on a plan to rectify it, but you know, until they have a long-term solution, it seems to me that there should still be upkeep. And then, you know, I'm raising this issue again because it's been, what, a year and a half now, it feels like, since it came up, and there was talk of a temporary solution. As far as I know, no solution has moved forward in that regard. So I just think we need to just continue to raise it with parks because, you know, there's a quality of life issue of it being half a park that looks like it's unkept. And then we did have, you know, residents in that area wanting a place for their dogs.
I can reach
Yeah.
out to Parks about this.
Yeah, Raphael, if you want to reach, if you can do that, and then I think separately we should also reach out to Julie Wan's office and see if they can get something too, because well,
Yeah.
let's ask Park first, and then if they don't respond, we can ask the council member. I mean, admittedly, Kevin, I haven't followed up in a little while, but when it was originally an issue, they didn't respond to like the 2 or 3 emails I sent. So
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's 2 separate issues at this point because I was just surprised to see how poorly kept that end of the park is at this point. And even the areas that are not cordoned off, I can't imagine anyone would want to sit on the benches around that because you've got, 3 feet of grass behind you.
yeah, definitely. Okay. So we'll follow up on that too.
Great.
Okay. One other thing I remembered just flagging, I think Raphael sent it around to people, but we did end up sending that letter to our state elected officials about the environmental bills. And I think I ended up adding everything, all the bills that everyone added. The one that we were missing was the one you had, Kevin, was just from the last year, but you added the one from this year. So I put that one in too. But that got sent to them as well. And I think that's something that we should definitely revisit probably in like December, because it'd be a great thing to resend at the beginning of the session in January too. I think I wanted to wait till the end of the budget, even though it went, I think they just finished the budget. So there's like 2 weeks of session left, which is insane. Not to say that anything won't happen, but it was just a crazy timeline. So I think it'll be a good like regular practice for us to just like look at those kinds of things. And at the very beginning of the state legislative session, we can resend a letter to all the legislators and let them know kind of the bills we're into. And I think that could help us. Okay. Anything else people want to mention or bring up? Questions, things from long ago that we should be remembering? Go
I
ahead,
just wanted
Isabel.
to ask, Carlos, is there a running tab for CB2 of like upcoming parks like in development, like besides like looking back in the notes? Is the notes the best place to stay on track of that, or would you recommend other ways?
So if the Parks Department has if they have a proposal that they're like trying to get community board approval on, or if there's like a critical juncture in a parks construction that they would flag for the board, they'd usually come to the committee, but then also if it's important, like they'll probably go to the full board. So you'll probably hear about it, even if you miss a committee meeting where they show it. In terms of like a list, I don't think we have, like, we don't have a list of like ongoing projects in the district. But if you're curious, we could ask about that. I think the only ones I know about are oh my God, I'm always forgetting the name. But the one where the green market is in Sunnyside is going to get redone, and we approved the redesign of that, I believe a couple months ago, or maybe at the end of last year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, let us know if you want to ask for it. I mean, you can always ask Raphael, and he can shoot them an email and try to get you a list.
Is moving forward on that thought, is there a scenario where we have a specific connection to parks that would join every meeting we have to just give us updates on what's going on with them?
It's something we can definitely broach with them. I think so. The person who usually I've worked with is Eric Goetz. And I don't think he just covers like our area. Whereas like I know for like DOT, they have like a planner who like covers like community board 1 and 2. So it's like someone, or like maybe one other one. So it's like there's like someone specifically to cover a very small area. So I don't know if Parks has that same capacity. I doubt they do. But maybe I think it's something we can definitely check on, and maybe, you know, they'd be willing to come every other month or like a couple times a year. I think that would be great.
We have a
have, so-
parks manager, Garcia Regis, and he covers areas in CB2. And whenever there's complaints, I reach out to him and he addresses them. So I can reach out to him if you would like.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to have someone at least at the next meeting if we can have them available, and then you know, we can see if they'd be willing to come a little more regularly.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Parks, and if there's any like questions that you would like Parks to answer, just let me know before I shoot the email.
I think for me, what could be really positive is just to kind of know what's coming up before, you know, they need our feedback in you know, within the next meeting, so that we can have a more cohesive history and understanding of what's ahead. And you know, I'm also, having been a little bit more involved in land use now, I'm seeing that there's a you know, city planning person that is just constantly on the sidelines giving updates and answering questions. So, and you know, it's obvious it's a little different. They have very strict timelines in terms of getting community board feedback, which we do not for the most part. But I think to build that relationship in such a manner that we know ahead of time what's coming, you know, could be really positive for us.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, great. Well, is there anything else folks have? Thoughts? All right. I think I will make a motion to adjourn then. I have a second.
Second.
So,
All right. Lauren seconded. All in favor, hands up. All right. Thanks everybody for coming. See you all next week for our full board meeting.
Good night.